Peace and blessings, global family. This is Araka R, and this is a message from me to you, sent almost against my will. And I say that because I don't generally feel the need to explain myself or justify my position to anyone. But I had a public interaction with someone on social media a few days ago, and I was so caught up in addressing my relationship with that person that my position on our disagreement wasn't fully and correctly expressed. It was challenged, and I didn't respond to that challenge. I just responded to the exchange and the relationship. And I'd like to rectify that. I think it's important. And I'm decided if this isn't fully against my will, because I'm going to take this opportunity in explaining my position to you to introduce you to my empowerment work, or reintroduce you if you're a student, in how to apply it in these modern times. I am not angry about what's going on in the United States. I am horrified and devastated by the impact that it is having on human lives. There are 3 reasons I am not angry about what is going on in the United States. The first is I understand it. I understand it. And when you understand something, you are released from the need to have an emotional reaction to it. It's like if you have someone whose behavior makes you angry, and you run into somebody else who knows that person, and you're expressing that anger, and they go, well, let me tell you, wop, childhood, wop, father, wop. Right now, the spouse, wop, and you go, oh, okay, I understand. I understand the behavior behind the actions. Therefore, I am no longer angered by those actions. And if it's true on this level, it's true on this level. Not only do I understand what is happening in the United States, I have been laying the foundation for other people to understand that it was coming since 1986. And from 2015 to 2019, my entire focus was on educating people about what was happening, what was going to happen with the impending presidency of Donald Trump, and what needed to be done about it in the context of my calling against racism and white supremacy. And I encourage you to focus more on understanding what is happening than reacting to it. Be careful what you are feeding your mind, what you are focusing on. If you're listening to people that just enrage you but don't inform you, stop. Read about fascism. Read about history. Understand what's happening so that you can navigate it from a position of power and not be debilitated by anger and anxiety. The second reason I am not angry is because of my perception of reality. Do you have a fundamental perception of reality? What are you talking about, Araka? I mean a philosophical and principled starting point, a foundation, a bedrock that you stand on, and from which you experience everything and everyone that happens to you. The filter through which everything comes first, so that you know already how to examine it and how to respond to it, and then allow for modifications being present and in the moment. Do you have that? Most people don't. I'm happy if you do, but most people do not. So something happens and they go, And then something else happens and they go, and oftentimes it's the same thing. But because they haven't developed a bedrock, a foundation, a position from which they start, the why of their lives. Why are you here? Why are you here? Because why you go to a place determines how you're dressed, who you talk to, what you do, what you don't do. Why you have a relationship with someone governs what you say, what you do in that relationship. Why is everything. And if you don't have a fundamental why through which to process everything, even something as egregious as genocide and fascism, then you become reactionary and you are prone to anger and anxiety, which debilitates you and achieves nothing. The third reason I am not angry has to do with living a principle-based life as well. And let me talk about principles. We all have beliefs. You hear something, you go, yeah, I believe that. I believe that's true. And you say you believe that's true. But very rarely do we take a belief and turn it into a principle. And what do I mean? I mean, we do the work. I mean, we take that principle and we examine what it really means to us, and we examine the distance between where we are in our development as an individual spirit and that principle. How far am I from that? And what does it mean? How do I cross this distance? And that can take years, it can take decades, it can take a lifetime, but it's why we're here, I believe. And if you have a principle-based life, it only becomes a principle when you stand in it, when it's challenged, when you don't waver for convenience or expediency or to meet other people's expectations. It's only a principle when it stands when challenged. And there are two principles. And principles can come from anywhere. They come from a quote, they come from scripture, they come from philosophy. Some of my most powerful ones come from movies. And there are two principles that I operate from that I'll share with you that are directly relevant to this premise about navigating these horrendous times from a position of power. The first comes from a movie, Godfather Part 3. Michael Corleone says, "Never hate your enemy. It clouds your judgment." So that's one of the reasons I'm not angry, because I refuse to engage in something that I believe is contrary to my relationship with the Creator, and that's hatred. And we can't talk about hate being quote unquote a sin and then hate because someone has a truth that is a diametric opposition to ours. That's not power, that's not principle. The second principle that applies directly to this situation is actually from a prayer that I heard a long, long time ago. And chances are that you heard it too. And chances are when you heard it, you said, yes, oh yes, 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 yes. That is the answer. I'm going to share it with you. The language is going to be a little different because it was a prayer and I pray differently. I have a co-creator relationship with the creative force of the universe. So, I don't ask, I declare, and it empowers me. So here it is with a little shift in language. I possess the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That wisdom. That wisdom. When's the last time you heard the word wisdom? When we were children, right? Fairy tales with the old wise chef or the old wise wizard or the old wise man. Wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. Being wise enough to know what you can and cannot change. Now, we could debate, about what is possible to change in this situation, what is not possible, but we're not going to. Why not? Because that is your decision. Your decision. That is something nobody else can tell you what to do. If anything, remember that why piece? Not everybody is here to fight the battles of geopolitical struggles. That's not everybody's why. What is your why? If you are moved to action about fascism in the United States and genocide in Gaza and so-called evil, wherever it shows up in the world, what can you do about it? Decide what you can do it, and then live your life. That's wisdom. And because of my perception of reality, that personal peace is primary. So, if you believe that you can gain personal power from exercising the wisdom in these circumstances, by knowing what you can do and what you can't do, and then standing in the serenity of those determinations, then you can achieve personal peace in global chaos. And that is living a powerful life. And that is my priority. And I want to make it yours. I want to show you how. And I hope you'll let me. Food for thought. Until we connect, peace and power.